Welcome to the Oxford, North Carolina Exchange, a media site dedicated to providing Oxford-related media for Oxford, North Carolina. Today, Adam and Alan discuss the upcoming Craft and Brew Fest on November 11 with Pierre Gingue, proprietor of the Hub on Main, and Ryan Turner, purchaser for the Hub and organizer of the fest. So we are recording. We gotta figure out what we're gonna say.
Yeah. First one, guys.
All right.
We'll be the guinea pigs.
We want to welcome everyone to the initial podcast of the Oxford, North Carolina Exchange, which is, what is our tagline?
You hear? We podcasted. I don't.
Media, Oxford, North Carolina media for Oxford, North Carolina. We want to welcome Pierre and Ryan, and we are podcasting from the Hub today. And we are podcasting here because there is the upcoming, I want to make sure I get this right, Brew and Craft Festival.
We'll take it.
All right.
Craft and Brew Fest.
Craft and Brew Festival. Okay. Three questions we like to ask everybody that we have on the podcast is, first, who are you and what brings you to Oxford? So Ryan or Pierre, whoever wants to go first.
So, I'd like to say I'm originally from Oxford. Not technically. I was born in Raleigh. Moved here when I was very young. My dad grew up here, but then moved away after high school and came back and started working back at the shop when it was formerly Stovall's Gifts. And God, I lose track, which is bad. Probably 8 years ago, I started doing the craft beer ordering and bartending, and I came right behind Sean Cummings. He kind of is the one that started it and kind of followed in his footsteps, and then we've tried to grow it the best we can after that, and then been here ever since, man, just trying to get the best beer out we can. And met Pierre. He kind of came in not halfway, a little before halfway, and he sat me down and said, you know, you're a big part of the shop, and we want you to be a part of it going forward. And they want to make sure that I was committed to it before they bought it. I don't think that really would have mattered, but, you know, it made me feel good that you said that. And, yeah, that's it, man. Just been here ever since.
Same question.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I am not from here.
Yes.
No, I'm going on just about 10 years in Granville County. Started my trek into Oxford via the bustling town of Stem, North Carolina, and started coming into Oxford in 2016 or so, and became friends with the folks at the Hub, at the time Stovall's. Like everybody, just sort of became part of the family pretty quickly. Julia was, you know, onto something great here, and we had an opportunity to get involved and did. And so in 2017 purchased the business from her, gave her next step to retirement. So that's where we filled in. And, you know, I found Oxford like everybody does. Just you either from here or you sort of fall into Oxford, and that's what happened to me. So I was looking for something around Raleigh and Durham that wasn't downtown Raleigh or Durham. So
Right.
Fortunate to have a nice farm in the southern end of the county that I bought in 2015 that I could not afford to buy today if I needed to. So I feel fortunate that I hit Granville County when I did. So I love this town, and we've been a part of, you know, the Hub was the initial sort of kickoff point, but been involved in a bunch of projects since then. So just really cool to see Oxford growing in the direction that it's going.
Great.
That's great. Just for you, Ryan, and you, Pierre, what's your favorite thing to do in Oxford? Absolute favorite thing to do. It can be anything.
Loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to have a good friend group. We love to come up here on Friday evenings, kind of start here with no plan at all. And at, 6:30, 7 o'clock, we make a plan and we walk wherever we can to go eat dinner. And this is kind of just a starting point, and we just kind of go from there. That's kind of our no plan weekend that, we kind of look forward to doing that. So that's it. All the local businesses, and we kind of just bounce around after we leave here, but this is always the place that we start. So yeah, that's about my perfect no plan weekend, which is good for me.
That's cool. So the the hub is definitely a gathering place, just a starting place for other things to do.
Yeah,
in Oxford.
I think the hub is a good place. Like I said, other people they meet here. We close at 7 o'clock, so it's a perfect. Everybody get up here between 5 and 6, grab a beer or two, and figure out where they're going to go after that. And yeah, it's just a good meeting spot, kind of right here in the middle of town, and you can kind of go from there.
The after work hangout, right?
It is the after work hangout for sure.
Pierre, how about you?
He said loaded question. I'm going to say loaded question. I have no life, so I basically just bounce business to business, location to location, mainly hiding from other people. But there's a lot to do here, and I'm involved in a lot of things. So I'll take this question as, what do I do in my free time in Oxford?
Right.
And that is exactly what Ryan said. It's a great place to start. It's a great place to connect with people, and then we bounce. And so activities like quitting time and other things where restaurants and other social establishments are open. That's my favorite part of Oxford, is you can get out, you can walk around, you can see folks sitting outside that you haven't seen in a while, and just an opportunity to connect with people.
Okay, since this is our initial podcast, Adam, what is your favorite thing to do in Oxford?
Wow, on the spot. I hadn't even thought about it lately.
It's the hub. The answer is the hub.
It starts at the hub.
It starts at
There are a lot.
Trivia,
There are a lot of trivias in town that I've been a part of, and I love the hub trivia on Thursdays. But I gotta say, my favorite thing to do in Oxford is something similar to what Ryan said, which is like you never quite know what's going to happen at a certain hour after on Thursdays or Fridays or whatever. But I love quitting time, which happens here in Oxford, and in May and June, and it has the perfect setting of trying different restaurants, trying different locales, including the hub and different places. And then once it's over around 8 o'clock, it's like, what do I do from 8 till 10 or 11 just to fill my time? Who am I going to run into? Who am I going to see that I haven't seen in months, weeks, or maybe even years? And very serendipitous and very just experimental with the foods and drinks and everything. Yeah. How about you, Alan?
It goes without saying, my favorite thing to do in Oxford, North Carolina is to give a sermon. Just kidding. I'll just use today as an example. I was down the road today at neighbors across the street getting a cup of coffee, and just saw a couple people that I hadn't seen in a long time, and was able to hear what was going on in life with them. Family, professionally, children. And once that happened, 5 minutes later, the same thing happened all over again. It just is a friendly, social place, and I just love connecting with people. All right. Ryan, what's the best thing that's happened to you ever in Oxford?
Oh, I didn't see that on here. Besides getting married, potentially, that's up there.
That's a good answer.
That was
That's a
good.
good answer, yeah.
Mia, in case you're listening, just to see the growth in Oxford from when I was in high school to now is crazy. It's ridiculous downtown. Proud of the downtown, how we don't have many empty buildings. You go through these other towns, they're half empty. Mm-hmm. They're lucky to have businesses, and now we're almost there, and it's going to do nothing but continue to grow. To see the distillery come, to see the brewery come, to see good places like Strong Arm and Oasis, and then we got the beer garden opening where Sunrise used to be, and then the hub becoming what it has become now compared to what it was is nice to see. But that's about it for me.
Same question.
Same question.
Same question. I mean, there's a lot that has happened in Oxford, and there's a lot of good things to point out. I think that the hub has been a testing ground for us for a lot of new ideas, and I think just the sort of the welcoming that we've gotten, in Oxford as folks not from here, don't have the accent, don't have the family lineage, but have been sort of just accepted as members of the community. And we hope that we can continue to give back. We're going to talk about the festival and things like that, but I think the community here really has been the best part of Oxford for me.
Right.
Alan, would you mind if I
Go right ahead.
interject it, actually? Because I just realized, actually, probably one of the best things that's happened to me in Oxford involves this festival. The first time they had it, that Pierre and them were having it, I had a friend named Scott Compton who had referred me to this gentleman here, Ryan Turner, about helping out. And I'd kind of been in Oxford a little bit, going to the brewery some places and a few other places, but I never really felt like connected, I would say, fully. But then I helped out there, and then at some point later, that was in November, and then later that month, November, Pierre invited me to their the annual Thanksgiving celebration, whatever.
Friendsgiving. Yep.
Yeah, Friendsgiving. Yeah, exactly. Like they did back in the show Friends and all that.
That's
yeah.
right.
And it really changed me because I met people that like Doug and Vicky Logan, who I hadn't seen in a long time, and reconnected with them, and met Wade Parham, who's like just almost this cool random person in town, and like started getting more connected with people here in the hub and just people around town. And I gotta say thank you guys for letting me be part of that and helping out, and it really changed a lot of the dynamic I have with this town. So.
Well, good. Well, anytime you want to work for free, you let us know.
Fair enough.
We will hook
There
you up.
are great volunteer opportunities.
Fair enough. He
all
already
over the
asked
place.
me if we needed anything, but I think we're covered this year.
That's
But
all.
be on standby because
Standby.
always stuff happens when in the beer business for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you want to go on to the next question?
I think so. Well, just to kind of set the record straight, we're here to talk about the Hub Craft and Brew Festival that's going to be November 11th of this year, 2023, from 1 to 5 p.m. out here on Main Street in Oxford, North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
that's correct.
1 to 4. We're going to do 1 to 4. So
1 to 4.
We'll have the street closed until 5, but we'll start clearing folks off starting at 4.
Understood.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're welcome to hang out in the street area until 5, but the festival itself, beer samples and crafts will end at 4. But welcome to hang out, and we obviously will be open until 7 that night.
Very cool. What is the origin story of the beer festival? The reason for having it socially, commercially? What was the initial idea there?
So, 2019, I talked to Pierre, and I had recently come off of probably going to 3 or 4 beer festivals and saw how impactful they were for different charities and different, things in Durham and Asheville and Wilmington. And I said, well, what do you think about doing this? And he was all for it. So we just jumped on board and started a little smaller, and it's gotten a little bit bigger every single year. And it's done really well. Our portion of the proceeds for our stuff go to the Masonic Home here in Oxford, and they help us with setup and breakdown and volunteers, and it's been a good relationship to have with them, and I just hope it gets better every year. And we had to skip a year because of COVID, but it has bounced back, and it's just a good time. And I think it's evolved over the years as far as now we have vendors, now we have more music, and it makes it a little more friendly for anybody that's coming that's not just there to do the beer sampling. So it's kind of welcome to anybody in town. So yeah, that's kind of what I remember from it.
I think that's what I got. I think to Ryan's point, the evolution of the festival, I think we had 10 or 12 vendors the first year. We were pulling teeth to get them here. People like Adam helped us out for pouring beer because people said that sounds like a great idea. Let us know if that goes anywhere, and we'll send you our beer reps next time. So it did go somewhere, and it was exciting for people who are here. And actually what happened over time is as reps showed up for the festivals in the subsequent years, they went, man, this place is really cool. And this little town nobody has seen before, nobody's visited, is something we're going to come back and see again. So we've got some of the reps who they might do 1 or 2 festivals a year, and this is one of them because they just really love being out here.
Terrific. Okay. Ryan, you're the beer expert here in town. Can you talk a little bit about just craft brewing and kind of the revolution that's been undergoing in the brewing of beer? When I was a young man, it was like, okay, here was the beer that my father drank,
Yeah.
that his father drank. Clear, smooth lagers, of which it seemed like there were about 10 of them for sale in the whole country. What's happened in the last 30, 40 years
man.
with beer?
An explosion is really what's happened. I remember having, trying to think if it was legally or not.
We'll say it was.
It might have been right around that time. I'd say around 2008. I lived in Wilmington, and I remember there being one brewery in town, big town. Didn't visit Wilmington for 8-10 years after that. Came back, and there was 14 breweries in town.
Wow.
So that has, and that, just like any city, that if it's popular, it's going to keep rolling. And it's just taken off, man. Yeah, it's started really drinking craft beer about 2008, 2009, 2010, a lot, and then it's just been a nonstop. It just keeps going. You know, you would think people like Asheville would get drowned out, but all of them are still making. You know, for the most part, all of them are still making it, and it's a good spot for people in small towns, you know, because so they can say, you know what, we have a brewery, and, you know, it's cool to see our brewery. When I go down to the beach, I see Tobacco Wood beer.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have a good story behind that. And, yeah, it's ever-changing as far as styles and stuff go, but it's all about the beer, and it's really taken off in the past 6 years, like really taken off. So he can speak a little more on, I don't know about the business side, but, you know, just how many more breweries have come along. But yeah, it's been crazy the past 10 years. So
I think, you know, Tobacco Wood opened 5 years ago in September. Hard to believe, 5 years ago. But the conversation, to Ryan's point, is as the growth was like exponential, right? A few popped up and then they like exploded. The question from a business side was, well, how much can the market really sustain? How many microbreweries can exist within a radius? And so I think what we found was that overall beer consumption didn't change, but the percent of the market shifted from large breweries to these craft breweries. So people who, you know, we opened the fridge, we always saw the same. My dad was a Michelob Ultra, you know, the tall, skinny brown bottle with the silver label. That's what was always in the fridge. And that was it. He drank the same beer every day. And so when you think about what we do now, we go into bottle shops and we literally, I probably don't have 2 beers that are the same in my refrigerator. Yeah. And there's probably 50 of them in there. So the idea that a single beer from a single brewery paired next to 4 or 5 others that you take home with you, that was sort of what we now see as normal for these bottle shops. So yeah, I think it was just a shift away from sort of bulk consumption of a single beer that you're familiar with, this idea that you can explore through all these styles. And Ryan will tell you and probably pick on me a little bit, but when I first got here, I drank red ale from, I think Fat Tire was probably the one that was my really like risque craft beer, right? I'm like, what do you think I'll like? And he's, you know, pointing me towards like the safest beers in the cooler. Didn't drink IPAs, didn't drink sours, didn't drink really any stouts. And I think you just sort of go through that process of like, okay, this is good. Some people don't love them all, but kind of you start to explore a little bit and find out there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
yeah, and to add on that one thing, probably I kind of think of it as you've seen the popularity in chain restaurants go down. I can kind of consider that the same thing. You would rather kind of go what's local and what, you know, people you know that own these places. You'd rather go drink at those places and spend your money there than go to some corporation that you don't know where all the stuff's going. That's right. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I think that's been a big push here of late, especially around here, to try to support the local places before the big guys.
Right. So beer has kind of just gone the same direction as most other things in the culture, where it's, get your local hot sauce.
That's it. We
Correct.
drink local. Yep.
Lo and behold, there's a winery not too far away. Somebody's making clothing again around here.
Right.
Yes. Your turn.
Hey guys, if I were to bring someone to the Craft and Brew Festival, what should we expect? How would they be changed as a result of me bringing them?
I figured that was happening. So, for beer drinkers and non-beer drinkers, you might see some familiar names at the beer festival. The Wicked Weeds, the High Wires. Our goal is to have some familiar beer and some beer that definitely nobody has ever had to that point. And it opens your eyes to trying, without having to buy whole beers and 6-packs at a time, some beers that you probably wouldn't try unless you were just getting small samples and moving on. So it kind of broadens your horizon as far as like your beer world. Some people say, "Oh, sours are not my thing." It's like, well, just try an ounce of this, and maybe it is your thing, and you just haven't really got to that point. But it's definitely become a little more of a family-friendly like event. So your kids can come. We'll have soda available. We can there's water and and different. I think we got
Activities for kids.
activities and stuff for kids this year, and it's just an anybody event. It's not just for the hardcore beer drinkers. So
If you think about, and we did this the first year, we did a 21 and over event, thinking that was sort of the lane, right? And then another show we'll do on this later. But in the spring we do an art and wine festival, and that was very much oriented towards families. So we rethought it and said, well, why would we not? And so if the customer base wasn't expecting it to be necessarily 21 and over, then we could accommodate all the age groups and make it a family event. And that did increase attendance significantly. It actually didn't increase the number of people that drank beer. That stayed about the same, but it increased the overall attendance in downtown Oxford, which is the point. So these events are as much to promote something that we're passionate about, which is craft beer and our own business. But it's really here to help promote downtown Oxford. And so the other retailers that stay open, the ones that support, the ones that pop out on the sidewalks, like that's the whole point of these events for us. So the idea of being able to pull in families, which I think, again, it was this, talk about dad's beer, right? That generation drank with adults. And now we're in a generation where it's acceptable to bring your kids to breweries, actually encouraged in a lot of ways. They've got games and outdoor play areas and bring your pets. And so this has become, as a part of our culture, more of a family environment. These kids are, part of those families. They're not being left with the babysitter so mom and dad can go hang out on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
Now, you're welcome to, but you don't necessarily need to. So, we try to set up the street in a way that if that's what you're here for and you're here to hang out with your family and you want to do kid activities and eat, you can do that. And then sort of on the other half of the street is where, there's vendors and the craft beer and stuff is. So we're aware of it, but we think because of the family nature of what we're doing, it actually works.
Right. When you were talking, Pierre, two things that I thought of is one, Las Vegas has rebranded itself as a family destination, and says, just because you're in Las Vegas doesn't mean you're consigned to the casino.
Right.
There's weather, there's swimming pools, there's, scenery, there's rides to ride, all that sort of stuff. And then I thought of the changes in attitudes, towards things like alcohol, where, all my friends from Europe were like, oh yeah, it was just always around growing up. And that we got used to it and socialized to it, as opposed to when I was a kid, it was like, okay, this is the adult area. You kids are not allowed over here, which just simply made us kids say, how do we get into the adult space?
Right.
Right. And it seems that the way forward in overcoming that was to just say, well, let the kids be in the space with their adults, with their parents. And glad to see that, that the beer festival is a place where anybody can come.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ryan, you mentioned trying new and different beers. Are there any beers on the list that you're interested to try this year that from a different brewery or wherever else?
So, without giving exactly what we have as
Okay.
far as breweries, as far as what each brewery is bringing, I'm bringing my list out. New to the festival this year, Sycamore Brewing from Charlotte, which is about one of the better IPA brewers in the state. This is their first time actually coming and have a representative. This year we actually have a meadery coming, and that's something a little different we've never had. So that'll be a different twist of things. High Wire out of Asheville, this is their first year. They always do some funky stuff with sours, with darks. They're all over the place with some good stuff. And Edit Brewing out of Raleigh. They are very new, but they make some killer beers. And then Full Steam, this is actually their first time coming. And cool thing about Full Steam is everything that they brew their beers with is from North Carolina, top to bottom. Hops,
Right.
everything, grain, everything is from North Carolina. So that's cool. So this is their first time coming. So there'll be, and then some other good breweries that we've had, and every year, some couple of years, but it will be different every single time. So I have a list of what we've had in years past, and then making sure that everybody tries to get the new experience every time. So
Great.
Yeah, I think what's cool about this festival, if you go to other beer festivals, in particular the larger markets, Raleigh and Durham, you can picture 500 to 1,000 people clustered somewhere, the old ball field in Durham, or on the streets in Raleigh, and
Yes.
you wait in a line of 50 people to spend 3 or 4 seconds in front of the whoever's pouring those beers for you to sample, and there's no real interaction that can occur. So what we tried to drive for here was an opportunity for you to meet the folks,
Right.
and have a conversation with them and figure out, like, hey, are you the brewer, you're the owner, are you the sales rep, tell me about the beers. And we've gotten a lot of feedback from people who come to this festival who drive from those other markets and say, I just like the fact that I get to actually talk to whoever's pulling the beers, and,
Yeah.
and from the again, we've got reps, we've got brewers, we've got owners. Like, it's a really cool mix of people who come out and help us out.
Right. I just realized the advantage of having a beer festival here and just having it be on your streets, compared to here's this stadium, that stadium. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but just a different sort of social experience.
Yes.
You can go from here's this vendor to here's a restaurant, here's a store. In an odd sort of way, the beer festival here maybe can offer more things.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've strategically positioned it at 1 to 4 because we want to get folks to eat, to come out, eat some more while they're here, and then be at a position where, okay, it's 4:30, like now we're starting to plan the rest of our day, and
Yeah, dinner
it's
time.
dinner time. So again, we could have easily shifted this right on to lunch or right on to dinner. Again, the point of this is not to monopolize people and their time they spend in Oxford. It's to enhance the experience of Oxford. And
Right.
maybe this is the only time all year they come here, and they were drawn here for beer, but they find a town that they're like, man, this place is cool. I'm gonna bring my friends back here, and they do. They come back and visit us and poke their head in and say, hey, remember I was here for beer festival, and came back because your town is cool. So that's what we're after.
So weird or cool story, I'd like to say. So one year we had a rep from Wicked Weed come, and a lot of you know them now, Mary Beth and David, and they were reps for Wicked, or she was a rep for Wicked Weed. She came to the shop, or it might have been Beer Festival one year, and she was talking about how much she loved it. And I said, man, y'all should move here. They lived in Durham, and they were talking about how crazy it was getting over there. And then she texted me 2 months later and said, hey, we bought a house in Oxford, and they've been here ever since and love it. So it's something that a lot of people didn't know about maybe when they're coming from out of town, and they get here and we're like, wow, this this is really nice, and they really appreciate it, and the vendors love it every time they come. So that's a good plus for the festival.
Right. If there are people that are listening right now and they're wondering if they can help out, is there anything they can do?
Yeah, I think if they will reach out to the store, you can hit us on social media, Facebook, send us a message, call the store. There's an or even stop by. There's an opportunity. We have a sign-up list for volunteers. Like Ryan said, sometimes our plans get changed. We have vendors that call out but have still sent beer. We need volunteers to help pour, set up, tear down. The city is a partner in this and helps us with barricading and trash receptacles and things like that. But there's always something to do. So yeah, please just reach out and we'll assign those duties as we sort of figure out what we need help with.
You guys have kind of gone over some of the. You have some craft vendors, right, and everything like that. But if somebody's not a beer drinker, what else are there to do? Is there gonna be food trucks or anything like that possibly?
Yeah. So
music and everything?
There'll be live music, and I would be lying to you if I could remember the name of it. They've got a phenomenal name. It's on our, I think it's like Mama Bree Bree and the Stranger, or I think that's what it's called. Little duo out of southern part of Virginia. We team up with Next Door Radio with Trey, and he finds the music for us. He provides the stage. And so we're excited to hear them. We've heard some demos from them, but that's going to be great. We've got some kid activities planned, so the kids can come down. Oxford Cheerlead is supporting us with some of that. We also have food trucks, and then I think 20 or so craft vendors. So those vendors come out. Again, another opportunity to help support the community. And these are folks who the only requirement is that whatever they sell is handmade. Right. And so they come out, and we're talking just now a few weeks from, dare I say, Christmas, but a few weeks from Christmas, and this is a great opportunity for them to sell directly to the community. We draw out anywhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 1,000 people over the course of the afternoon. Again, some beer drinkers, some not, but now the majority are not. So we have about 250 that participate in the beer tasting, and the rest are just here to do the other things or go shopping.
Right. Any contests or giving of ribbons or medals, anything of that sort? Yeah. The Great Oxford Beer Festival.
Right. I think we were on a show yesterday recording, and we said, there's 50 or so samples of beer. Not a challenge. That is not like a punch card that you have to fill out and redeem for drop it in the bucket. No, this is pace yourself. In the future, maybe we could get creative and come up with like a hot pepper eating, equivalent or something. But no, I think maybe the contest here is to pace yourself. 50 offers to sample, but maybe don't pick all 50. Maybe sample a few of those for yourself. But the idea of the range of beers is more to make sure that there's something for everybody. As Ryan said, sours, ciders, light beers, dark beers, IPAs. So just something for everybody.
Right. My wife, for the longest time, could not understand why I was a beer drinker. When she sampled, an IPA, she's like, "Why do you put that in your mouth?" But when I gave her an imperial stout, she's like, "I could have this."
Right.
It met her palate, and she was very surprised that after her whole life of not being a beer drinker, that she's now at a stage where she might order a beer, she might order a cider, something along those lines.
Well, that's good. That's kind of the half of the point of the festival is to test your palate and see where it goes from there and see what you like that might not be what you think it is.
Right.
And then you can kind of go from there, and then you know what to do going forward. If you know that you like imperial stouts, then you know which way to jump to our side of the beer over there. But that's, you never know until you give them a try. Because if looking at that beer, you probably would not have gone in that direction since it looks like motor oil. But if you're a coffee person or a chocolate person or roasty kind of, sometimes that's just what you like, and which is a good thing about being able to try everything.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about the craft beer revolution is just people will recognize just how diverse a thing beer is. You know, and different beers for different occasions. Different beers for different stages of life. I find myself as I get older and older, I'm more and more inclined to drink that beer that my father drank.
Yeah.
As if I'm catching up with him.
Right? Full
Yes.
circle.
Yes, full circle. Okay. We got any other questions on there that we haven't done yet? Okay. Before we ask you two other questions for another podcast, anything you want to close with and say to the listening audience about the brew? What's the official name? The Hub Craft and Brew Festival. Yes.
We'll say tickets are on sale for tasting. The event itself is free if you just want to come out and enjoy. Obviously, the food, you're going to pay for that, but to come to the event is free. The tickets will sell out. That's the way it is. We get people every single year come to the table about 1:30 at check-in at registration and say, can I buy tickets? And we say, you cannot. We bring enough beer, order enough tasting glasses so that the folks that do get tickets are well taken care of. So we're very strict about that. So if you want to be there and you want to sample, buy your tickets. They're available online. Go to the Facebook page for the Hub and it will send you to Eventbrite.
Right.
If you're really savvy, you can actually search for it on Eventbrite. And we also have paper tickets available at the Hub for sale. So
Right.
individual tasting tickets are $40 and they're sold per person. Reminder that it's 1 to 4, although the street will stay closed, probably another hour after that. And the Hub will be open. If you're really into craft beer and you're local and you want to join, we have a beer club that meets once a month that Ryan leads. Really cool group of folks. We do beer allocations on a monthly basis that basically your membership pays for, and then the monthly meetings are kind of gravy on top. And he breaks out a bunch of good stuff. We have a couple folks that are home brewers in the group that bring samples of things that they've made. But it's just a good fellowship time on the last Sunday of every month. So folks should feel free to jump in there too if they want to.
You have anything to add about that, Ryan?
Stole my thunder on that one. Yeah, I was definitely going to jump in on that. I'd say we're 3 or 4 years solid on the beer club. And yeah, it's seeing how successful beer club was a good note on us to do the beer festival, and we use those people for the beer club as people to reach out, and we welcome anybody to come to beer club, like you said, last Sunday of every month. And your first time, if you want to come and try it out, it's just $10, and you get to try all sorts of beer, and you get a good explanation of what you're drinking, where it's from, how strong it is, all the different tasting notes and all that. But yeah, that's a separate thing, but that's kind of where the beer festival stuff started. Yeah, beer festival, it's a great cause, goes to a good organization here in town, and the more we continue to support it, the more it will continue to grow.
And where do you guys see the festival going and becoming in the next 3 to 5 years? What, you got any goals or hopes you want to share with us?
Go ahead. I'm curious to hear.
Just to keep it going a little bigger every year, without blowing it out the top. But not to compare it to the Hot Sauce Festival, but I remember coming to the first Hot Sauce Festival and there was 45 people here, and now it's over 10,000 people that come. So little bit by little bit, and see kind of where we go year to year, and if anything changes, we kind of just roll with the tide. So
Yeah, the growth has required that we start to think about our partnerships a little bit. The first year, I think we were kind of directly in front of the Hub, maybe a little bit to the right, not too far. But now it's requiring a partnership with the city, downtown economic development, other retailers on our street, Granville County Tourism Authority, because to Ryan's point, it just sort of it appears that it's got some wind in its sail, and it's going to be sort of beyond our ability, probably at some point to manage not necessarily the beer part because that's really what we're passionate about,
Right.
but as the event grows, the other sort of ancillary pieces around it, and we have already started to partner with a group to help us organize vendors, a group to sort of help us with the kid activities, and so it's already starting to go in that direction. But it's just wonderful to see it get off the ground. And COVID was obviously a kind of a a screeching halt for everything, but to be able to come back after that and have the momentum that we have is really positive.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. It would have been an easiest thing in the world for that interruption to have stopped something like this. But it's survived and it has grown.
And I've really enjoyed what you guys done with the Art and Wine Festival as well, and having just not just having something to drink, but something to do and interact with, and local people to buy from, and the crafts at the Craft Brew Festival. I think it'd be very awesome to see what comes of that. Where do you guys see Oxford in the next 3 to 5 years? Or anything you want to see from the city or the town, or kind of where it's going, where you want it to be?
Oh man. It's gonna grow.
Yeah.
I see it with my other job, which is undisclosed, but it's coming. The more people, the more businesses, the more restaurants, the more places, it's gonna come. Would love to see it be a place to where it can still be homey, but have everything we need at one spot, and it not get too crazy, but crazy enough to where you have options to do what you want to do, which is we have that now, and it's just going to continue to grow. That's really the goal for me, man. Just you can see the housing market in Oxford has doubled in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but imagine, Ryan, you still want to be able to go out on Friday nights and just have your little gallivant. Is that the right good word? Or,
That's
or just have a good time out with your friends.
Correct. And I don't foresee that changing anytime soon,
Right.
because, like you said, we're gonna get more places, and we'll hopefully accommodate to the larger amount of people and try to keep the hometown vibe, but also on the progressive end of that. So.
Right.
And I think Ryan's exactly right. It's the vibe is, for me, the key. So, we got here a very certain way, right? And we got here by supporting businesses, supporting each other. And my hope is that we will continue that idea, so that when a festival or when an idea starts to be groomed into an event or whatever, that it's a collaboration between businesses, and that new businesses will sort of recognize that that's how we got here. So. Every business is like just another feather in the cap, as opposed to, I think there's two ways to grow a town like this. One is to replace an old business with a new business, and the other is to complement all the businesses with a new business. And I think that has been the model. That's why, we've gotten some relatively large press on Oxford, specifically Southern Living Magazine and Our State Magazine. They are really interested in the businesses and the things that are happening, but the story that they keep coming back to is this idea that the businesses are creating events to support each other.
Yeah.
You look at Quit in Time and you say, well, this is a collaboration among like 7 businesses or 8 businesses to support each other on a Thursday afternoon, when any one of them could have just taken the idea and said, well, as long as it's better for me than everybody else, I'm good. So I think that's the story of Oxford, and as long as we continue to keep that at the front, then I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah. What I appreciate about all of that, what you just said, is that there's an intentionality to create and to sustain the public space. And the public space being, here's where you see your friends, here's where people make new friends. And if the future of Oxford is growth, it can still remain Oxford if there is spaces where people can get to know one another. The character and the charm of the place will flourish. I was thinking of, whenever I go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is a huge city, I'm always amazed when I'm in the middle of this place of several million people, how friendly the people are, and how they want to get to know you, how they want to tell you, go here, go eat here, go listen to this music, and that has to do with the culture of Philadelphia. And they do it with millions of people. And if a town of, millions of people can do it, everywhere else in the world
Town of
can do it.
9,000 can certainly do it.
Yes, yes, and it's already going on here. Oxford doesn't have to change just because it grew. So,
About as well put as you can do it.
That's it.
yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time. And for those who are out there listening, we've been chatting with Pierre and Ryan and talking about the Hub Craft and Brew Festival, which will be Saturday, November 11th from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock right here in the middle of Oxford. You are all invited to come, and go ahead and invite a friend if you are coming.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time and for your effort and energy and putting this thing together. And it's been great for the town and city, and I look forward to being some part of it, the craft part, or just having fun with it. Yeah.
If you need a volunteer for tasting, I know somebody.
Thank you. The list is growing.
The list is growing.
Yeah, there's a lot of volunteers for that.